today's date is 25 February 2022, and I'm here at Fort Myer conducting an interview with Lucille Eddy.
Yes.
And I am Dennis Gill with the Americans in Wartime Experience. So if you could just give me your full name, where were you born, where did you grow up, that kind of thing?
Lucille and Eddy. I was born in Massachusetts, but was raised in New Hampshire, Peterborough, New Hampshire, on an apple orchard. My dad was a manager.
Okay.
So I hung out there and was able to be outside a lot and not have to have really weird chores like milking cows.
And where do you call home now?
Alexandria, Virginia is where I live now.
Okay.
I'll never be a Virginian. I'm a New Englander by heart.
You served in the military?
I did. A little over 20 years in the Navy. I retired as a senior chief, petty officer.
Okay. What did you do in the Navy?
I went in as a radioman, telecommunications, but while I was doing that, I got to do career counseling. I was a career counselor for several years. I was a company commander, which most people know as a drill instructor. So I did that for about 3 years in Orlando, Florida. And then I got to do some other fun things, but I was a radioman, telecommunications.
Okay. Why did you decide to do that? Any...
So when I was in the 6th grade, I read a book called, it was either Nurses in Blue or Navy Nurse. And I was like, oh, this sounds like a really fun thing to do. And so from the 6th grade, I wanted to join the Navy. Then, as I said in a talk just recently, that I found out that I had to go to school to be a nurse. And so it was like, no, I don't want to be a Navy nurse anymore because that would be schooling. So I went in and became a radioman and had to do schooling there. But I think it was a better fit.
Right. Any other veterans in your family?
My aunt, and I had some uncles, but I have an aunt that joined in World War II before her brothers did. She obviously had to volunteer for it. And I have some nieces and nephews. I don't have none of my siblings. I have cousins and aunts and uncles, but none of my own direct siblings.
Right. So we're here today to talk about the flower ceremony at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier that occurred last year, coincided with the 100th anniversary. What was your role in that?
I was very lucky with the Military Women's Memorial asked me, I'm a volunteer there, and they asked me to come and help distribute or pass out flowers so that people would come, line up, they would walk by our table and another table that was giving out flowers, and then they would go up and put the flower on the tomb. So I was able to do that for a whole afternoon and on the last day, which was pretty amazing as well.
What can you tell us about the flower ceremony?
So the flower ceremony was, as you said, to commemorate the century old of the Tomb of the Unknown. They did that back in the day, 100 years ago, right? So really special seeing everybody come in and participate, whether they were military, veterans, civilians, guards that had done the walk before and came back to do that ceremony. It was just really amazing just to see the different people that were there to participate, including diplomats, foreign diplomats that came, which was really amazing to me because I look up and here's this contingency from, I believe, Japan. It was like, well, that's pretty cool. So,
have you ever been involved in anything like that? Probably not to that magnitude.
Well, it's interesting, and I was thinking about when I was coming here, I actually was here when they did the Unknown from Vietnam and talk about the emotions for that. And it was almost the same for the flower ceremony because of why people were there and what I was feeling and what they were sharing, because I'm a little talkative, so I was talking to people on the line. And it was just, just the feeling, which I'm getting goosebumps now.
What was different about this ceremony than anything else that you part of?
I think one of the things was how large it was, but how intimate it was. There was a lot of people, but when you walked the plaza and stood in front of the tomb to do your flower or flowers, it was you. It wasn't a group exercise. It was just, this is how, it was almost like you became alone up there. And I was able to do it twice because I was handing out the flowers. So the first time was making sure I got it done, checking that box. And then near the end, there was not so many people. And one of the folks that was letting people up asked if I wanted to do it again, that was really intense because I was really by myself. So yeah, but I think big and how intimate it was made it different than other things.
Big and intimate at the same time.
Right. Yeah.
You said you checked off a box. Why was it important to check that box?
It's never going to happen again in my lifetime. I mean, it shouldn't happen again in my lifetime because it was so special. So that was the box ticking.
Right. When you heard that this was going to happen, it never happened before. I mean, it's a big deal. What were your thoughts?
Well, first, let me tell you how I found out about it. So I have a very good friend who I've known. We were stationed together in 1982. And she calls me up and says, I don't want anything for my birthday except for you to go and do this flower ceremony at the Tomb of the Unknown. And I was like, what? I don't even know what you're talking about. I live, 5-6 miles from Arlington, and I have no idea what she's talking about. So that's how I heard about it. And then when I started looking into it and seeing how to do it, getting the tickets for it, it definitely became one of those things like, again, being part of something that's not going to happen again in my lifetime, being able to show support and even that little bit of, me in this ceremony or this remembrance.
What were the crowds like?
There was lots, quiet. I wouldn't say reverent so much until you got up to, after people received their flowers, it became a different feel because you passed the tables where the flowers were, and then it was kind of like you were waiting to go onto the plaza. Prior to that, people are talking and people are doing whatever because they were coming in groups and that kind of stuff. There was definitely people that came alone, but there were groups of people and that kind of stuff. But as soon as they received the flower and got past the tables, it got quiet. It got a different feel to it. And reverent might be, I don't even think that's too strong. I think it was definitely a reverent feeling, like, this is for real now. We're not just standing in line kind of getting up to where we need to be.
I spoke to a captain that was there, and he's with the old guard, and he told me, every so often there's somebody that has to be checked, put back in place. They're talking when they shouldn't be. They're kind of clowning around. He said this time there was none of that.
Right.
None of that at all. So why do you think that is? What was it about this that brought out the best in people, I guess, really?
Well, one, I think, is because everybody that was in line either knew they were coming to do this or found out about it, but found out about it before they got there. So like if they got off the trolley and it's like, oh, there's a line, what's this for? They found out what it was before they got there. Unlike when other people go to like a wreath laying or to a changing of the guard, people do that all the time. And I don't think they understand what the significance is because it's not readily available and people aren't talking about it. I think there was a lot of talking about what this was. And when somebody asked, what's the line for? They got a nice little bullet probably of, that is because the tomb is turning 100. We're going to do this. They did this before when they interned the unknown. I think it had a different feel in the beginning of it instead of just like walking around the cemetery going, oh, it's time to go see the changing of the guard, if that makes sense.
Right. As an American, how does it make you feel when you witness something like this?
Well, I'm pretty proud to be an American anyway. I think it's just another thing that makes my foundation very good. It it doesn't prop it up. It just gives it a little bit more stability to see people coming together for something that doesn't have anything else except for what this is about. This is about an unknown. This is about the military. This is about how we treat the folks that gave all. So, yeah, I think it just shores up my patriotism and me being an American.
How bad is a veteran?
Don't make me cry. Again, seeing people step up that were civilians, because there was a lot of civilians. It wasn't just all military. It wasn't all veterans, which was another good thing about this thing. Seeing people taking time to be able to say, yes, this is an important thing. And I don't know, and I'm extrapolating, yes, it's the unknown, but I think some people were also doing it because of military and the people that we have lost and that kind of stuff. It was interesting to me because I didn't realize that Gold Star moms are integral to the changing of the guard and the guards. I didn't know that they stood there and talked. See, you're going to do it. And that they'll wait for them to come back to finish the story about their daughter, their husband, their sons. So yeah, it was amazing to me when I heard that.
The person that's buried in that tomb 100 years ago, he continues to serve his country
Mm-hmm.
and continues to inspire others, correct?
Absolutely. I believe so. I think, I do believe that is true. And sometimes I feel like we've gotten away from, what some of the symbolism of being an American and that kind of stuff. We've gotten away from it. And I think it goes in waves, as everything does. I mean, if we look at how, when we interned the unknown for Vietnam, and then having to go back and there is never going to be another one because of DNA and that kind of stuff. But how it wanes and grows again. And I think this was a good thing to remind people that he is there, and he is doing his bit for the country. Not only did he die for it, but he's doing something now every day. When people come and do the changing of the guard, as long as they're understanding that that's what we're doing. Because some people, I don't think, realize that again. They go, oh, changing of the guard. What does that mean to you? Changing of the guard. But.
Right. I probably know the answer to this. You're aware that they're female tomb guards.
Why, yes, I do.
Did you see any there that day?
Did I see? I think I did. I'm trying to think. I know that yes. I don't know that I saw them on the plaza, but I did see them about, because I think it was a lot of all hands on deck that day, those 2 days.
Do you look at her differently? I mean, is she just another soldier?
Another soldier, my friend. I know that.
Because it's unique. There's not a lot.
Of course,
Right.
But I think. And this is me being old school, because I was in the Navy back when you just wanted to be, I wanted to be a sailor. And listening to, because the women that have been to the tomb or work on the tomb, they don't want to be pulled out and shown that I'm different. The watch bill made it so we had an all-female changing of the guard. That was because of the watch bill. It's a last name. It's not like a female in your last name or last name in an F. So that just happened because rotation. But they didn't want to be shown a light on for that, for being a female. And if you talk to them or read anything, I haven't talked to them about that, but if you read things about it, that they just want to be part of the team, because that's what we are. So, but I think it's wonderful. Every time I see a female doing something that they haven't done before, that we haven't done before, I feel very proud. And it's like, oh, go. So.
We had the pleasure of interviewing Chelsea Porterfield.
Oh, nice.
To be first, if I'm getting this right, the first female sergeant of the Guard.
Yes.
And she says that she's there to inspire men and women, not just women. But
Right.
She wants to be a good soldier for all of them.
Oh, absolutely. If we start to look at it like I'm only inspiring one section, then I think we failed. I think we failed as humans, personally. Going out and yes, women doing things so other women can see that it can be done is very beneficial. But it's also beneficial to show that, somebody from New England does something and, a landlocked state like Vermont, you can be a sailor from Vermont and never seen the ocean, right? So yes, and I don't know about now, I've been out a couple minutes, but I tried to portray that, but again, uplifting and holding up women to make sure that we knew we could do this. It wasn't a like, oh, look, luck, no.
Right. So we're preserving these stories, preserving your observations, your experiences for someone down the road in the future, 50, 100 years, who might watch this, who knows. What message would you like to send them specifically about this ceremony that they'll only read about in the book?
Right. I think something about that ceremony in particular, being around people that came together to do a certain thing made it so very special. I was very lucky to stand behind two gentlemen that were tomb guards, and one of them was talking about how he had only read about this in a book. He knew about it because that was part of his training, about how they did the flowers when they came to Arlington, and now he was getting to do it. He was making history, he was bringing it alive. He was doing something that was in history, and now he was making history because he was living history. And I think that's what we all should look at with any of these things that we're doing, to be part of it, to take it from the books and making it happen again, or something happen again, to acknowledge, just makes that history alive and making new history. And I think it was wonderful that they did this, because they could have said, there was many things they could have done for the 100th remembrance, but doing something that other people could be part of, and common people, everyday people that could get it in line and make it happen, I think was just fabulous.
Would you like to see anything like this done again, or is this a once every 100 years?
Well, that's a tough one, because if you do it too much, it's not going to be important. So I'm going to go out on a limb because I'm not going to be here in 100 years, but I think waiting another 50, because if you're looking at energizing another generation, I mean, that's 2 generations for sure, but it's still, you'll have people that were here for this one if you do it in 50 years. I didn't hear that anybody showed up. I mean, people are living longer now, so there could have been a kid that came for this one. I mean, I don't know that happened, but I mean, that would be something that is, if you have that thread. But I think we have the thread for this event, for the flower ceremony, because the guys that walked the plaza knew so much about it. It wasn't just like something we read up in the little museum, or we read about because it was a sailor that picked the unknown and that kind of stuff. So yeah, I don't think they should do it often. I think it should still be special.
Is there anything else that you want to mention that we haven't talked about? We covered all?
I think we did.
Well, on behalf of the Americans in Wartime Experience, thank you for sitting down and talking to us.
Thank you very much for having me.